1 in 3 is intended for mature audiences. Episodes contain explicit content and may be triggering as they often include violence and other varying forms of abuse such as emotional, psychological, sexual, and physical. In most cases, names have been changed to protect all involved. Please note, statements and opinions of guests do not necessarily reflect those of my own. Hi Warriors, welcome to 1 in 3. I'm your host Ingrid. Today's episode is going to be a bit different. I recently attended an event in New Smyrna Beach, Florida for a nonprofit called After Awareness. After Awareness is an amazing organization designed to help combat legal abuse, which is not always domestic abuse, but certainly can be. Here is my experience. First of all, I want to say I do recognize that I sit in the comfort of my little DIY podcast studio, recording episodes and editing all the mistakes out before uploading them. It isn't much of an intimidating situation when it is only my voice and something I have been doing for a few years now. This past weekend, I was given an opportunity to push myself out of my complacent comfort zone. I was able to stand in front of domestic violence advocates, victims, survivors, and warriors to say out loud, in person, that I am a survivor. Talk about a weird mix of humility and empowerment. Prior to and after the presentations, I was able to meet and speak with attendees. It was an absolute honor and incredible experience. And now I'm ready for more. In episode 43 with A. Garcia, we discussed a domestic violence movement and how we wanted to be a part of it. Well, it's already happening all over, and we are coming together to strengthen our presence. Some of those amazing people I met are planning to join me on 1 in 3 in the near future, and I am thrilled to have them. In the meantime, I wanted to share my short presentation I gave at the After Awareness event. Here goes. I'm going to present some important statistics from the National Domestic Violence Hotline, the Centers for Disease Control, and the World Health Organization. In the United States, an average of 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. That equates to more than 12 million men and women each year. Approximately 1 in 3 American men experience sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner within their lifetime. Approximately 1 in 3 women worldwide experience physical and or sexual violence by an intimate partner or sexual violence by a non-partner in their lifetime. It's important to understand, however, that domestic abuse is not only physical. It also includes coercion and psychological, emotional, financial, and legal abuse. As you let that information and those statistics sink in, you might consider the people within your personal circle, friends, family, and colleagues who may have been affected by domestic violence, or random presenters. Yes, I am part of those statistics. My experience parallels almost every other domestic violence story. I thought I met my perfect match. He complimented me. He adored me, lavished me with love. We even had the same interests. But over time, the relationship shifted. He became mean and insulting. I was constantly wondering what happened. Did I do something wrong to make him angry? How do I get us back to what we were? What do I need to change? As I attempted to better myself, he became crueler. Of course, he occasionally followed his bad behavior with apologies and promises to never again. But he always did. The cycle continued at just the right pace to keep me guessing, keep me hoping things would get better. I didn't want to actually admit what was happening because I didn't want to admit that it was happening to me. But the psychological and emotional abuse that carried on for years eventually escalated to sexual and physical violence. But eventually, something shifted again. Finally understanding and admitting what I was, a victim of domestic violence, I began my transition from victim to survivor. I successfully left the relationship and began my healing journey. I learned this phase would also take years, perhaps even the rest of my life. But I was free, I was safe, I was happy, and I was thriving. And slowly, I made yet another transformation from survivor to warrior. And you guys, this is my favorite phase. As I educated myself more on domestic violence, I began to look in the mirror and ask, now what? Something inside of me was awakened. I felt an actual burning need to do more. I could not ignore the fact that others were out there just like myself, feeling hopeless and alone, lost and confused, ashamed and silenced. Well, I fell back on what I do best: talk. I created the 1 in 3 podcast to give a victim's perspective. With it, I hope to bring more domestic violence awareness, answer questions, and clear up judgments and misconceptions that are all too often projected on victims. Wanting to take my new project to the next level, I attended a podcast convention in Orlando earlier this year where I met our wonderful host and co-founder of After Awareness, Karen. You see, Karen is another warrior. In fact, I consider any advocate against any form of domestic violence to be a warrior. Those who attended the event in support of After Awareness and those who are listening right now, in my opinion, are all warriors. In closing, I will leave you with this quote I found from Being Caballero. Nobody is born a warrior. You choose to be one when you refuse to stay seated. You choose to be one when you refuse to back down. You choose to be one when you stand up after getting knocked down. You choose to be one because if not you, then who? Thank you for listening. Sources for this episode can be found in the show notes. I will be back next week with another episode for you. Until then, stay strong, and wherever you are in your journey, always remember, you are not alone. Find more information, register as a guest, or leave a review by going to the website 1in3podcast.com. That's the number 1, IN, the number 3, podcast.com. Follow 1 in 3 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at 1 in 3 podcast. To help me out, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. 1 in 3 is a .5 Pinoy production. Music written and performed by Tim Crow.